We live in a world full of uncertainty, volatility, and random events that can upend lives and institutions. Yet while many things break under stress or chaos, others thrive in it. This distinction is at the heart of Nassim Nicholas Taleb's concept of antifragility. Unlike fragile systems that shatter under pressure or robust systems that resist damage but do not improve, antifragile systems grow stronger when exposed to stressors, shocks, or disruptions. Taleb begins by drawing on the inadequacy of our modern way of dealing with uncertainty. We seek to eliminate volatility, smooth out randomness, and impose order, especially in domains like economics, medicine, and public policy. But by overprotecting systems, we often make them more vulnerable to collapse. The anti-fragile, on the other hand, benefits from randomness, much like muscles get stronger through resistance training, or evolutionary systems become fitter through natural selection. The distinction is not merely theoretical. Taleb gives us countless examples from history, nature, and human behavior to show how anti-fragility plays out in the real world. The example of anti-fragility is found in the world of startups and venture capital. Individual startups are inherently fragile. Most of them fail. However, the startup ecosystem as a whole is anti-fragile. Each failed venture contributes valuable information to investors, entrepreneurs, and the market. It leads to improved business models, better technologies, and stronger strategies for future startups. This constant experimentation and high rate of failure actually strengthen the overall innovation economy. In contrast, established corporations often aim to eliminate failure through rigid processes and risk aversion, making them less adaptable to sudden changes in market dynamics. When disruption comes, whether from new technologies or shifting consumer preferences, they're often unable to pivot, leading to catastrophic losses. Startups, like biological evolution, thrive on variation, selection, and iteration, proving that systems exposed to frequent small-scale failures are far more likely to evolve, survive, and even flourish under pressure. Nature's systems are anti-fragile. Forest fires, predator-prey dynamics, and disease outbreaks all show how stress is not just inevitable, but necessary for adaptation. Systems that try to eliminate small stressors often end up facing massive, unmanageable catastrophes. The nature of anti-fragility can be seen in forest ecosystems, particularly in how they respond to small, periodic wildfires. At first glance, fire appears to be purely destructive, but in reality, these low-intensity fires are essential for the long-term health of the forest. They clear out deadwood, underbrush, and invasive species, allowing sunlight to reach the forest floor and making room for new growth. Species that have evolved in these environments have adapted to not only withstand fire, but to benefit from it. Some trees, like the lodgepole pine, even require heat to open their seed cones and reproduce. When small fires are suppressed for too long, debris accumulates, leading to the risk of massive, uncontrollable wildfires that can decimate entire ecosystems. In this way, regular, manageable disruptions actually strengthen the forest's resilience and regenerative capacity. Nature, through fire and renewal, demonstrates how systems that endure stress can adapt and thrive, embodying the essence of anti-fragility. Central to Taleb's framework is the idea of via negativa, that removing things often strengthens systems more than adding things. In medicine, this might mean stopping unnecessary treatments. In life, it might mean cutting toxic relationships. Instead of asking what we can add to improve, Taleb encourages asking what we can subtract to gain resilience and strength. He warns against naive interventionism, where overconfidence and misplaced trust in models lead to harmful interventions. Doctors prescribing unnecessary medications, economists managing economies with complex models they don't fully understand, or policymakers creating laws without accounting for second-order effects. All are examples of fragilizing systems under the guise of progress. Another powerful lens through which Taleb views anti-fragility is the barbell strategy. It involves minimizing downside risk while exposing oneself to unlimited upside potential. Financially, this might mean keeping 90% of your wealth in ultra-safe assets and 10% in high-risk, high-reward ventures. This is the opposite of the traditional balanced approach, which assumes predictability. Taleb argues that the world is far more unpredictable than we think, and embracing barbell strategies allows us to benefit from the unexpected rather than be harmed by it. It's a way of positioning oneself in life and business to be resilient to losses but open to massive gains from positive black swans. Taleb also targets the notion of skin in the game. Systems are fragile when decision-makers are not exposed to the consequences of their actions. Bankers who cause financial collapses but get bailed out, politicians who make reckless decisions without bearing the costs, or consultants who advise but do not do, all are examples of fragility due to a lack of skin in the game. Anti-fragile systems demand accountability. When those in power bear consequences, their incentives align with long-term system survival and adaptation. Throughout the book, Taleb challenges modern overconfidence in knowledge and forecasts. He mocks the Soviet Harvard delusion, where experts believe they can model and control complex systems. Reality, he says, is nonlinear, complex, and inherently unpredictable. Our tendency to simplify, measure, and manage only creates illusions of control. True wisdom lies in humility, and the anti-fragile individual embraces what Taleb calls empirical humility, a mindset that trusts trial and error over grand theories. Taleb draws from ancient wisdom, citing the Stoics, ancient Greeks, and Arab philosophers who understood that what doesn't kill you can indeed make you stronger. From the tale of Damocles, whose sword hangs precariously over his head, to the robust habits of the Roman Stoics who practiced voluntary discomfort, Taleb argues that those who embrace manageable hardship develop strength and resilience. The anti-fragile life is not one of comfort and ease, but one of calculated exposure to difficulty. A powerful example of the benefits of embracing manageable hardship is the concept of vaccination. Vaccines work by exposing the immune system to a small, controlled amount of a virus or bacteria, often in a weakened or inactive form. This minor, manageable exposure does not cause the full-blown disease, but triggers the body's immune system to recognize and fight it. As a result, the immune system learns to defend itself more effectively against the real threat if it ever appears again. This process mirrors the essence of anti-fragility. The body becomes stronger not by avoiding exposure, but by encountering and responding to small doses of stress. In fact, the absence of such challenges can lead to greater vulnerability, just as a completely sheltered immune system is ill-prepared to face real infections. The principle also applies in areas like physical rehabilitation, where patients gradually increase activity after injury. Small, progressive stresses on healing tissues encourage regrowth, alignment, and strength, whereas complete inactivity can lead to atrophy and stiffness. Medicine continuously shows that recovery and strength are best built not by avoiding all hardship, but by engaging with it in a controlled and thoughtful way. Toward the end of the book, Taleb applies anti-fragility to personal life. He advocates for decentralized living, local decision-making, simplicity in diet and exercise, and a preference for artisanal over industrial. He urges us to build redundancy into our lives, not as waste, but as insurance. Just as nature gives animals 2 kidneys or eyes, redundancy creates options and buffers against uncertainty. In relationships, careers, or health, being slightly overprepared makes us better equipped to handle the unknown. Taleb's idea of decentralization reflects a deep skepticism of large, fragile systems that collapse under pressure. In personal life, this means relying less on centralized institutions for decision-making and more on local wisdom and self-reliance. For example, growing your own food, supporting local businesses, or relying on a close-knit community during times of crisis makes you more resilient than being entirely dependent on global supply chains or distant systems of support. Local decisions are faster, more adaptive, and grounded in real-world experience, not abstract models. When it comes to simplicity in diet and exercise, Taleb is essentially encouraging a return to basics, cutting out highly processed, over-engineered solutions in favor of natural, time-tested methods. Eating whole foods, moving the body daily in functional ways like walking, lifting, or stretching, these are small, consistent actions that strengthen the system over time. They mimic the manageable stresses that promote health and resilience, much like how bones grow denser and muscles stronger through use. Overcomplicating health with fads, extreme regimens, or high-tech interventions often makes us more fragile. Redundancy, often mistaken for inefficiency, is actually a vital part of long-term survival and thriving. Nature doesn't aim for sleek optimization, but for robustness and adaptability. In your finances, for example, having savings, multiple income streams, or emergency funds isn't wasted money. It's a cushion that allows you to take risks and survive shocks. In relationships, maintaining strong ties with friends and family, even if it seems like effort without immediate return, pays off when crises demand support systems. In careers, learning multiple skills or keeping a side project going gives you flexibility if your main path collapses. Redundancy also gives psychological comfort and freedom. Knowing you have options means you don't have to panic when plans go wrong. Just as an airline pilot has backup systems for navigation and communication, individuals who embed small backups into their lives are far more resilient in the face of chaos. Taleb suggests we shouldn't aim for the smoothest ride, but rather for the ability to adapt and bounce back stronger after rough patches. Living this way means embracing imperfection and unpredictability, not with fear, but with confidence that the small buffers we've built will keep us afloat and even help us grow. In conclusion, Antifragile is not just a philosophy, but a practical guide for living. It suggests that instead of trying to predict the unpredictable, we should structure our lives and systems in a way that benefits from shocks. Rather than fearing chaos, we should harness it. Antifragility means loving volatility, benefiting from disorder, and thriving in uncertainty. It's a call to stop chasing certainty and to start building robustness, and more than that, strength, through unpredictability. The anti-fragile mindset is the future of wisdom in a world we can't control. Thank you so much for listening and joining us. If you enjoyed this summary and found it valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth book breakdowns. Stay curious, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next video.